It was a rainy evening. The city lights reflected off the wet asphalt, and a thin layer of mist lingered in the air. In the heart of the city, a small café served as a warm refuge for people seeking shelter from the bustling chaos of their daily lives. Ahmed, the café's youngest employee, was busy as usual. At just 23 years old, he had started working at a young age to support his family. Hardworking and energetic, Ahmed's genuine smile kept the cozy atmosphere of the cafe alive, even on the busiest and most stressful days. That day was no different. Ahmed was rushing between tables, cleaning up, delivering orders, and always making an effort to be polite to every customer. Over the years, he had met all kinds of people at the cafe. Business professionals grabbing a quick coffee, groups of friends deep in conversation, students buried in their books. But the man who walked in that night was unlike anyone Ahmed had ever encountered. The bell above the door jingled, and an elderly man stepped inside. His clothes were old and tattered. His hair and beard were disheveled. The worn-out coat he wore barely shielded him from the cold, and his shoes were soaked and nearly falling apart. His tired eyes carried a deep sadness. Quietly, he found a seat in a corner of the cafe, but he didn't order anything. He simply sat, staring at the floor, seemingly trying to absorb some warmth from the cafe's cozy interior. Ahmed couldn't ignore the man's condition. Taking a cup of hot tea, he placed it gently on the table in front of him. "Here you go, sir," he said softly. "This will warm you up a bit." The man looked up at Ahmed, a mix of surprise and gratitude flashing in his eyes. "Thank you," he murmured. Ahmed nodded and returned to his work, leaving the man to quietly sip his tea. Later that evening, as Ahmed was clearing tables, he accidentally dropped some money from his pocket. Unaware, he continued working. The elderly man noticed and immediately got up from his seat. Picking up the money, he approached Ahmed. "Son, you dropped this," he said, holding out the cash. Ahmed turned, surprised. "Oh, that's mine," he said with a sheepish smile. "Thank you, sir. That's very kind of you." Ahmed was struck by the man's honesty. Despite his apparent hardships, the man had returned the money without hesitation. In that moment, Ahmed thought to himself, kindness can be found anywhere. You just have to know where to look. Years passed, and that simple act of kindness left an indelible mark on Ahmed's mind. Life, however, was not easy for him. After leaving his job at the cafe, he struggled to find a better career path. No matter how hard he tried, financial difficulties seemed to follow him. He tried various jobs, but none provided the stability he desperately needed. Despite the challenges, Ahmed never abandoned his honesty or work ethic. One day, Ahmed came across a job posting for an executive assistant position at one of the city's largest companies. This seemed like the opportunity he had been waiting for. Determined, he polished his resume and submitted his application. Weeks later, he received an invitation for an interview. Excited yet nervous, Ahmed realized this could be the turning point in his life. On the day of the interview, Ahmed woke up early, dressed in his best attire, and headed to the company's impressive office building. The sleek, modern architecture was awe-inspiring. As he entered the lobby, he couldn't help but feel a bit out of place among the well-dressed professionals rushing about with purpose. But he reminded himself of his determination. "I have to make the most of this chance," he thought. After a brief wait, a secretary directed him to the interview room. Taking a deep breath, Ahmed knocked on the door and stepped inside. Sitting in the corner of the room was the CEO himself. Ahmed froze for a moment as recognition dawned on him. The man seated before him was the elderly man from the cafe, the same man he had served a cup of tea to and who had returned his dropped money. "Ahmed, right?" the CEO said with a warm smile. Ahmed was stunned. "I remember you," the CEO continued. "Years ago, you worked at a cafe. Your kindness and honesty that night left a lasting impression on me." Ahmed, still processing what he was hearing, stammered. "You're that man? But how?" The CEO chuckled softly, leaning back in his chair. "Yes, that was me. Back then, things weren't going well for me. My company was on the brink of collapse, and my life felt like it was falling apart. That night, your small act of kindness gave me hope when I needed it most. That tea, and the way you treated me with respect reminded me that there's still goodness in the world. Now, it's my turn to return the favor." Ahmed was overwhelmed with emotion. He never imagined that the elderly man he had helped that night would one day be offering him an opportunity that could change his life. The CEO seemed to sense his disbelief and reassured him. "I'm not just here to thank you. I believe this company needs someone like you, someone who embodies honesty and hard work. You're exactly the kind of person we need." Ahmed smiled hesitantly. "I'm not sure I deserve such a big opportunity," he admitted. But the CEO quickly countered, "Everyone deserves a chance, Ahmed, especially someone like you." That day, Ahmed accepted the offer. The CEO placed him in an entry-level position and personally mentored him. Ahmed's dedication and determination were evident from the start. Within weeks, he earned the trust of his colleagues and supervisors. But for Ahmed, that wasn't enough. He was driven to learn and contribute even more. Ahmed's efforts didn't go unnoticed. His work ethic and leadership skills quickly made him a standout employee. Over time, he was promoted to lead the company's customer relations team. In this role, Ahmed not only excelled at managing clients, but also became a mentor to his team, guiding them with empathy and understanding. During a major company event, the CEO took the stage to honor Ahmed in front of all the employees. "This man," the CEO began, "is a shining example of our company's core values: integrity, hard work, and extending a helping hand. Ahmed embodies all of these. His journey reminds us that even the smallest acts of kindness can create a ripple effect, changing lives and inspiring others." The CEO's words brought tears to Ahmed's eyes. This recognition was more than just an acknowledgement of his hard work. It was a testament to the power of kindness and honesty. But for Ahmed, this was only the beginning. Inspired by his own story, Ahmed spearheaded several corporate social responsibility initiatives within the company. He launched a mentorship program for young professionals and worked with the CEO to establish a fund to help individuals in need. Through these efforts, Ahmed extended the same kindness he had once received to countless others. Years later, Ahmed and the CEO shared a special bond. Their story, which began with a simple cup of tea in a small cafe, had transformed both their lives. For the CEO, helping Ahmed felt like repaying a debt from his own youth. For Ahmed, it was proof that small acts of kindness could lead to extraordinary transformations. Enjoyed the story? Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend. Hit that like button and subscribe for more heartwarming tales. Let's spread the inspiration together.